So one of the things that's been bothering me lately is the way the conversation around ICE and deportations seems to just disappear from the headlines unless there's some, insane dramatic event, in some political stunt attached to it. And so while the news isn't paying attention, immigration enforcement is still fucking with real people, real families, and real communities. And parents are being separated from their children, and workers are disappearing from their jobs, and neighbors are still just suddenly gone. And, these actions have enormous consequences, and they deserve public scrutiny. And lately, the media treats immigration enforcement like weather. It happened, here's a number, and then they move on.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, we're being flooded with coverage of political theater. Who insulted who on social media? What was the nuttiest thing said at a rally? Which politician is fighting with another politician? And the stories are there to just generate clicks and ratings and to fill us with a sense of outrage. The slow, methodical exercise of government power does not, and that's a problem. In our society, the press isn't supposed to be a scoreboard operator. They're supposed to be the watchdog. The purpose of journalism isn't to tell us what the government says. It's to tell us what the government is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Are they following the law? Are people's rights being respected? No. Whether the public is getting the whole story, which we're not. So when government agencies are conducting raids and kidnapping people, and moving into cities, that's the exact kind of activity that should be completely under scrutiny, and not because immigration laws should or shouldn't be enforced. It's how they're being enforced that is the problem. So history shows us that transparency matters, and oversight matters, and accountability matters. Regardless of who's in office, citizens should know exactly what the fuck is being done in their name and with their money. And the troubling thing isn't that people disagree about immigration. We can disagree about immigration. The troubling thing is that so many Americans are completely fucking ignorant of what's actually happening. They're hearing slogans, and they're hearing talking points, and they're hearing partisan spin, and what they don't get is consistent, in-depth reporting on the human consequences, the legal questions, the costs, and the long-term impact of what this is going to mean long-term for the country. So a healthy democracy requires more than elections. It requires attention. It requires transparency and a press willing to focus on the machinery of government and not just the spectacle that it provides,
Right.
If nobody's watching, that's when we have to worry.